Welcome to the Game Deflators Podcast, episode 52. My name is John, and I am joined by Ryan.
Hey, everybody. Here at the Game Deflators Podcast, we like to talk about games we've recently picked up, games we're currently playing, and we reveal Banksy's identity on today's Inflation Deflation Challenge.
Believe it or not, for people listening, I have no idea who Banksy is, so that's all Ryan.
Hey, if you're still listening out in the UK, you get it. You'll like it.
Sounds good, man. So, as always, let's start for pickups. I'll go first. I had a pretty large pickup this week.
Yeah, pretty large pickup.
If you're on our Instagram, you can check it out on Instagram. I think it's on Facebook and Twitter as well. I just threw it everywhere. It was a pretty good pickup.
And you could find us on all those places at The Game Deflators, except for Twitter, where it's just Game Deflators. They couldn't handle the.
Thank you, sir. So, yeah, this week, let me turn my chair around here so I can just start rattling off games. Castlevania Lord of Shadows 1 and 2. Space Marine Altered Species was a really cool one that was on there. It's like a vampire, I think it's Vampire Reign Altered Species. Let's see, we've got Beatdown on the Xbox. I've got multiple God of War games I picked up. The
Yakuza, Borderlands.
Yeah, Yakuza and Borderlands. Singularity, which is actually one I have really wanted to play that one for a while. Yeah, it's all over the place, dude. Metal Gear Solid HD collection.
Final Fantasy 12.
Yeah, man, it's a collector's edition on that, by the way.
I used to have that.
Yeah, and a couple Resident Evil games I didn't have. So, overall, all PlayStation 3. If you want to check it out, check out our Instagram at VGameDeflators. And there's plenty of other really cool photos on there as well. And did I pick up anything else? I think that was it.
I mean, that's a pretty good haul.
God, I forget the name. I don't remember the name. It's a RPG. It's all blue on the cover, and it's got like this white figure on the front of a male. It's on PS4. The Archivist or Ex-Archivist.
I
don't remember the X-Archive. I have no idea. I don't remember the name. It was like $8, so I bought it.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, that's it for my pickups. What's that?
$8 new?
I don't remember.
Where'd you get it?
New. eBay.
Oh, eBay.
Where
Okay.
I
was thinking you ordered it from someplace, and I was like, well, you would know if it's new or not.
Yeah, and then something else I want to get is, and Game Grinder actually posted this the other day, so it caught my attention, is Blasphemous on the Nintendo Switch and PS4. It's an indie game that came out not too long ago. It's Metroidvania, and it seems like I'm really into Metroidvanias lately. So,
dude, who isn't?
Yeah, that's true.
What have you been playing? I didn't pick anything up. Nobody's surprised.
Yeah,
I do have one thing about pickups. I'm thinking about dropping Apple Arcade because I really haven't used it in the last week or two. I tried a whole bunch of the games. A lot of them were pretty entertaining while I was checking them out. But I've just been playing so much more real games lately that I haven't really felt the need, and I don't really keep my iPad on me when I'm out of the house too much. And even if I do, I've got my Game Boy. So I'm thinking about ending my test run with this. The one thing I need to do, there's a new one that came out that's bullshit. I can't get around doing a side scroller like Mega Man on a phone with touch controls is too much for me. I can't do stuff like that.
I don't think anybody can.
Yeah, so I was thinking about trying to hook up my DualShock 4 to the iPad and trying some of these games that seem like they would be better with a controller. I just haven't gotten around to it.
Makes sense. So as far as what I'm recently playing, as you had asked, this week I honestly didn't even do anything gaming-wise.
Really?
Yeah. So
slow week for you.
Yeah. Well, not a slow week. It was just busy. Started out the weekend doing some yard work and then putting in a door, and I've been messing with that the last couple days. Our friend's dog, as you know, shoot up a lot of stuff in our house. So just started doing some drywall yesterday, and it's just been straight out housework.
But no gaming.
No gaming whatsoever, which absolutely sucks. We did go check out, my wife and I, though. They're doing, at the Flicks Brewhouse out in Chandler, they've been doing a Harry Potter marathon type thing. So they're showing every single movie in theaters each night. So we saw the first 3 movies, which is really cool. And we're going to, I guess, continue to marathon at home versus it's $13 every time we want to go see it. So rather than do that, we'll do the next few at home.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's been outside of that, it's been a very unproductive gaming and nerd week for me.
Well, I have been doing all kinds of gaming this week, and none of it has anything to do with my new games resolution.
You do realize that we're in November, right?
I know. I'm cutting it close.
How many
I like
hours
to keep
you got
people
left?
on their toes. I don't know, dude. It's like a 7-hour game. I probably played like 3 hours of it, but probably, I mean, I played more than 3 hours because I tried to fight that boss a bunch of times. I recently messaged an old friend who was like kind of the person that got me into this in the beginning, and he said he always has a hard time with that fight too.
Well,
But I haven't been playing that. What I have been playing is more Little Town Hero, which is a huge mixed bag on that one, dude. I read a few reviews. I'm like 5 chapters or 6 chapters into it, I think, out of like 14 chapters. So I'm like almost halfway there. And, what the reviews said are pretty true. It kind of sucks because it got really sandbagged. Like if you look at its Metacritic score, the user score is pretty BS because there's a whole bunch of people in there that are just whining and they're like, well, this is why we're not getting a full Pokemon game because they devoted resources to this. Shut up, dude. You can't give a game a 0 because Pokemon's not going to be as good as you hoped it was going to be.
and it's Pokemon. Like you've had, I don't know, 12 other games before it. So
Yeah.
who cares?
But so the criticisms with this game, it's not a perfect game. It's definitely like a 7 kind of game.
Is it like Bethesda bad or
No. It's definitely got all the same problems Game Freak has. Like, if this was like Pokemon, it would be like a little bit older Pokemon in the sense that like you have a whole bunch of different attacks, but you only have like one attack animation. So everything looks the same and everything always takes that time. The strategy element in the combat, I really dig. Sometimes the numbers get like a little overwhelming, and sometimes you're absolutely just in a situation where you're screwed and you literally just can't do anything, and it's just all RNG. But that's what happens when you do these kind of deck builder kind of games. But the more I play it, the more I really get into the strategy of it, and the more I think like those situations where it really seems hopeless, like that can turn around really quick. And I've had a lot of battles where it's like, man, I'm gonna have to do this whole fight over again, and the fights can be fairly long. I'm gonna have to do this whole thing over again, and then I just get like one really good turn and I can roll that momentum all the way through the rest of the fight. One thing the game does really good is it gives you the opportunity to learn from your mistakes, and it gives you like some mini tutorials that make you kind of think around the situations in different ways. And I really like all the different approaches, and I really like how they're trying to kind of build this whole ideas and actions thing into really a deeper way to kind of think about the combat, because it's not just what you're doing right now and doing all this stuff. There's so much like setting up for the next move that like once you start to get into a little bit later in the game, like where I'm at, and you have like more abilities, there's a lot more depth that I think that you're gonna get if you spend more than just like an hour or two with the game. I think it's hard to like, and the story and the characters are really wishy-washy, whatever kind of stuff, but the combat system is interesting enough that I'm gonna keep going with it, and we'll see if they ever do anything with it again.
is the combat system kind of like the Final Fantasy X combat system?
No, it's nothing. No,
where like what's going to be coming up.
No,
and
you
can
have-
pick and choose abilities.
well, you have like when you start off, you get like a draw of 5 ideas, and you can turn those ideas into actions, but you need a certain amount of like energy to be able to do that. And like every 4 turns, you get 1 more point of energy to start off each round with. But your opponent, there are cues that you can learn. Like I just lost a battle this morning, and I looked at the hint afterwards, and it was like, oh, when he gets purple under him, that means next turn his attacks are all going to have piercing on them. So try to get rid of high damage attacks before then.
Gotcha.
So there's like queuing like that. Like the enemy has like abilities that are like, if you break this idea, it's going to counterattack and deal 3 damage directly to you, which doesn't take a long time to chew through your defenses before you're already losing. And if you don't break it, next turn it's going to be a 5-1, which if it has piercing is going to you have to have a strong defense, and it's probably going to destroy whatever you have, which makes it harder to build your advantage back up. And this boss is just really hard because all of its stuff is counterattacks and very strategic. So I actually have to use more of the game board element of it, where depending on which turn, like which square you're in or circle you're on, you may have access to a different ally who can boost something for you or do something for you, or like a cannon or a chicken or something that you can use against your enemy to whittle their defenses down without directly engaging them. And so it's like, really, I didn't think it would go that far to make me have to think that hard and push that hard, but it's definitely challenging. Like, as much as this looks like it's a kid's game, I feel like this would be really frustrating as a kid if you're just like, what is all this numbers?
Yeah, I mean, I can look back at a lot of games I played as a child, and it sounds kind of like that. A good example would be when I was probably 8 or 9 years old and attempting to play Icewind Dale and Neverwinter Nights. Had no flipping idea what I was doing at that point. I might not have been 8. I might have been a little older. But those were games that I just wasn't fully accustomed to into playing, and just kind of throwing myself into that position. Like, while it was fun, it wasn't as fun as it could be now. And hence why I'm waiting for Neverwinter Nights to come out on the Switch.
Yeah.
So what else are you playing, dude? I see like a whole 2-3 lines over here.
Yeah, I've been playing Link to the Past steady on my Game Boy. I'm up to Skull Woods now.
You're just going steady with Link to the Past?
Yeah. I mean, I get a little bit of time here. I get a little bit of time there. I've always got my Game Boy on me.
It was a dating joke.
Yeah, okay, I got you. But that's going pretty good. I've never made it this far in Link to the Past, so I'm pretty stoked to be getting through this. I've got like almost all the items now. So
if you beat this before Zone of the Enders...
Oh, no, there's no way I will. I'm going to try really hard to beat Zone of the Enders by next week.
You heard that, folks. He is going to try to beat Zone of the Enders by next week.
Really hard this time. And then also, my wife started playing Fallout 4, so I've been her guide through what I know about that game, and we're kind of working together to get through it, because there's parts that she likes and parts that she doesn't, and I can help with those, and I could sit there and play Little Town Hero while she's playing that.
Gotcha. That makes sense. That's actually a good way to do it.
Yeah. So that's what I've been playing. You haven't been playing anything, but you know who has been playing stuff?
Me. No, I'm just kidding. So FYI on that, I am going to be jumping back into Batman Arkham City pretty soon. Although all of these awesome games I just picked up, I don't think you realize how tempted I am to just play any of these. Like, all of them.
Well, dude, just give yourself just take a day and play like 30 minutes of each game as long as you can.
Yeah,
and then do as many of those games as you can for 30 minutes each, except for Final Fantasy 12. Last time I tried starting Final Fantasy 12 was the first, I played that game for 2 sit downs. I still need to try to get on it. I've been thinking about Final Fantasy 12 for my new games resolution for next year.
I'm actually really tempted. So Cartridge Club, I think I invited you to that on Facebook. They're currently doing Metal Gear Solid 3 for their Game of the Month. And I kind of want to play that one because I never did beat Snake Eater for some reason. I've beaten all the others but Snake Eater, which is really odd, when you think about it. So I might do the Game of the Month with them, and it'll be pretty cool.
You're not going to beat it in a month.
What, Snake Eater?
Yeah.
I don't think it's that long of a game, is it?
I don't think you have that much time.
Probably not, but I can still play it with them.
Well, anyways, that ties perfectly into what I was going to transition into before that's not up here. Direct your eyes at me, John. Which is something that everybody's been playing lately, at least anybody who got their hands on a review copy early. Death Stranding comes out this week. Tomorrow, in fact.
Yeah, the reviews on it haven't been good.
Well, they've been mixed. Some people say it's the best, free Kojima, let him do what he wants to do, and have this awesome auteur vision that creates, I've heard people saying this is a new genre of game, which is exciting to hear, but I've read probably 3 or 4 or 5 reviews now, and some of the negative reviews say things that just make me not really that interested in the game, and none of it has to do with the really weird aspects of the story of the game, but just I don't know, man. Some of it seems like it's going to be a big hill to climb to really get into this game. So I'm really thinking that, I know I've talked about this for a while too, the GameFly. I think that I'm definitely not going to buy Death Stranding. I'm definitely not going to buy it. I'm definitely going to find a way to rent that and try that out, because it seems like it's going to be a big load of stuff, and I'm not a Kojima veteran. I played like an hour or 3 of Metal Gear Solid 1, and that's it.
You're literally playing Zone of the Enders right now.
Well, but I mean, like, Zone of the Enders I get as a concept, and it's not as weird as like Metal Gear Solid and Death Stranding.
Metal Gear Solid's not that weird.
Yeah, it is.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
Come on, really?
Yes,
How's it weird?
With all the like timeline stuff and like Big Boss and Ocelot, and there's a lot of stuff in there that's very, very weird, like the Patriots. And
I'll give you like the story.
I know a lot about it. I've watched a ton of videos on Metal Gear.
I'll give you the story component part being kind of like all over the place and timelines.
That's
being
what I'm
wonky.
talking about.
Okay, I get that.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the gameplay. I'm talking about...
Well, Death Stranding is just a weird ass game from what I've seen.
That's a weird ass on both ends. But yeah, that's one of the things, you know, this week I've seen a lot of that going on. And I've also seen a lot of people talking about all these Pokemon leaks going on, and people just seem...
Poke-leaks.
Yeah, people seem like there's these games that they've been built up all this hype for, and then one thing just doesn't really fit what they thought. And it's like we see that hype train kind of crashing again. Every so often we see these big hypes, and then it's kind of like, like we were all excited. This is going to be Pokemon for a console. What can they possibly... Oh, it's mostly the same.
Mostly the same, with elements of Let's Go popped in, which you're still stuck in Mount Moon.
Yeah.
I think I might have just got to Cinnabar Island the last time I played it.
And then there's Death Stranding, and it's like, oh, this big magnum opus, and then it's like people are like, I don't know, it might be too weird, might have been a better movie.
Well, I mean, you can always watch all the cutscenes on YouTube.
Well, and he announced that he's going to start making movies in the future. He said that, like, probably within the next 4 or 5 years, I think it was, that he sees his studio producing films.
The mind of Kojima creating films is
it's what he's always wanted.
Dude, can you imagine him teaming up with, like, Guillermo del Toro?
He is.
I know. But on a film aspect, not a gaming
Guillermo's
aspect.
like, next time we do this in my house.
Oh, my God, dude.
Well, let's get to our first bit of news.
We got a lot of news this week.
We do got a lot of news. I just wanted to talk about those things because those were kind of fresh in my mind, and I wanted to see what you thought a little bit. You know, hey, audience, let us know if you're doing the Death Stranding, if you're building that super highway and helping everybody out, or if time has washed away everything.
I'm going to interrupt Ryan here. Nintendo boss Bowser on Switch Lite sales, 3DS support, and tiny retro consoles.
This comes from Andrew Webster at The Verge.
And Ryan has some notes here. I'll let you go through because I read the article, but not all the way.
Yeah, so in this article, it was just an interview with Doug Bowser, and they kind of ask him a little about a lot of different subjects. One, they talked about the Switch Lite. Everybody loves the Switch Lite. I thought it was going to be like meh. A lot of people, I think, thought it was going to be like meh. But
I thought it was going to be
people
meh.
Love it. 43% of Switch Lite owners are buying the device as a second system. People that already own Switch, 43% of Switch Lite buyers, it's their second console. Like, that's crazy. I understand maybe you had like, okay, we'll get the older boy, you know, Switch, and he can hand his DS down to his sister, and she can hand the 2DS down to the younger brother.
I was about to say, man, if you said Game Boy, I was going to be all over you on that.
No, kids that young don't have Game Boy.
Kids that young have no idea what a Game Boy is. They think it's a smartphone.
I think that's like a fun thing. That's cool. I like the Switch Lite as an idea. I'm cool with that. But, the thing is that the biggest advantage of it is that it's building the Switch market, not competing with the Switch market. Like, he talks about the 3DS. They're still going to keep supporting the 3DS into 2020 at least. I mean, who knows beyond that? But more Switch Lite means more money for Switch stuff and more people enjoying the Switch, which isn't a bad thing. It's not like when they did the DS 3DS kind of thing. And then they talk about Joy-Con drift. And he mostly just brushes that off. He doesn't really have a whole lot of interesting stuff to say about that.
That part I did notice. It was kind of brushed under, like, yeah, we try to, put out a quality product. And
yeah, just basic.
It was more of the, we know we screwed up type of thing, and we're working on it. That's kind of how that came off. What I did find interesting in that article, by the way, is it said a majority of the new purchases of those Switch Lites are through women. Did you catch that part?
Say that?
Yeah, it's just above that section on the what we just talked about. So yeah, it does say on there. So what it's basically talking about is that the Switch Lite is broadening their overall market.
That's good.
Which is really interesting when you think about it. Like, why would they have like a higher percentage of women picking up the Switch Lite versus before? Like, why? What's the difference in that makes it more appealing to, I guess, women in this case?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is it more of when you look at it, maybe they're not gaming necessarily. They're buying it for younger kids. I'm not sure entirely on that end. But
I mean, gaming's gotten a lot more broad, spectrum. More people are gaming in general these days than used to. And there's been, no end to new markets opening up. Like, it's always surprising to see how high the numbers of sales get for these when you think that's a ton of people with disposable income out there that are all ready to invest in these new platforms. I really was cautious with the PS4 purchase. I waited for that to drop down, but I got the Switch, within the first year, and I feel like a lot of people maybe kind of waited off to see how it was, but now with the Switch Lite, it wouldn't surprise me that more people on the edge of gaming see this as a great way to jump in because they maybe just want that kind of portability, but in a lighter, easier package, and they have no intention of hooking it up to the screen.
So here's that part about the different audience. So it says, I'll talk to the inverse, which is 57% of consumers are new to the Nintendo Switch family, and it's equally important to us to continue to expand the audience. And then he goes on to say, one of the important trends we're seeing is Nintendo Switch Lite has a higher percent of female consumers that are buying the Switch Lite, which is a strong indicator of an appeal to a broader audience.
Exactly.
So it's interesting how this is working out. I mean, I've obviously crapped all over it, and we crapped all over our buddy a long time ago that predicted the Nintendo Switch Lite. And I still think it's a stupid idea, to be honest, but it sold what on there? It said 1.7 million consoles or something?
Yeah, it's like a ton.
Yeah, so, well, it's not ton necessarily, but the Switch...
1.85 million units in its first month. That's a ton.
Yeah, that's not too bad. And then life sales, I think they said were, 40 million for the Switch and Switch Lite in general?
Switch is 40 million.
Which pales in comparison to the PlayStation 4, which I think is past 100 million now.
Yeah, I just read about that. But it is going to pass the Super Nintendo sometime soon, it says in here.
Yeah, it says it's encroaching on Super Nintendo sales territory.
And then last but not least, Super Nintendo. It doesn't sound like we're going to get that little mini N64 anytime soon. It seems like that that ship has maybe sailed for now, because now that they have Super Nintendo support on Switch...
But they don't have N64 support.
Yeah, but what do you think's going to be next?
Maybe.
I mean, imagine them slowly over time building up a library of, all right, we'll add a few new NES, a few new Super Nintendo. We'll do that for a little while. And then we'll start throwing in like a couple N64. Launch like, a starter pack of like 16. And all that's just a part of your yearly $20. Maybe they can even bump it up to 30 if they add in N64. But, there would be more benefits for them to draw this out than to release these little mini consoles. And I think that we can really see how the bubble on that went. It was so successful with the first one. It was really successful with the second one. Then PlayStation dropped the ball super hard and never picked it back up.
But Sega did a pretty good job on theirs that they released.
But the market is not... Like, I feel like
if Nintendo...
nobody's going to fall for that a fourth time.
Oh, dude, totally. Everybody would buy an N64 Mini. That'd probably be their best-selling one.
But it would have to be more money if they were going to have 4 controllers. It's a 4-controller console. Not having an N64 with 4 controllers...
I'm going to shoot myself in the foot on this. Totally going to shoot myself in the foot on this, because if it happens, then I'll have to spend that type of money. If So if they did a couple things, one of them could be support of old N64 controllers, which probably wouldn't happen. The other thing
I don't
would
think
be
the console would be big enough to even plug 4 in.
4 ports. Yeah, totally, dude. You can put 4 on the front of that Nintendo or Super Nintendo
couldn't.
Mini. Yeah, you can. Look at the little port. Take that and then line it up with the N64 controller in there. There's a lot of noise in the background now. You could totally if you made it just a little bit bigger, it'd be perfect. That would work. It'd look stupid, but it would work. So, point being is Nintendo can print money with these consoles, and an N64 Mini would be extremely popular, and they could very easily have one controller that comes with it, sell the entire thing for $80, and then sell the other controllers for 25 to 30, and people would eat it up, dude. Especially multiple colors.
I still think the best way to do it would be to do like a retro Game Boy with everything inside of it.
That'd be
rechargeable
cool
battery. That would backlit screen. I think that would be the moneymaker, but that's not happening not anytime soon. So says Bowser. But you know what you can get your hands on soon? John.
Black Friday sales.
Black Friday sales. That's right, buddies. We've got from I've never heard of this, but theplaystationbras.com.
The PlayStation Bras?
Yep. BRAHS.
As in bros.
Yeah.
Bras.
What's up, brah?
Okay. All right.
So
cool.
your deals this month, brah, by Thomas Williams, brah, of the PlayStation Bras. So there's a lot of deals going on. So you can get a PS4
with God of War, I think.
God of War, The Last of Us, and Horizon. So those are obviously, we talked about it earlier, those are the best games. I think that's the PS5 top selling list. So
other than Last of Us, 2 of those made my list.
And then you can get a PSVR with
that looks
Resi
awesome.
7, Astrobot, Something I Can't Read, Skyrim, and something else I can't read for $200.
Dude, that's actually a fantastic deal. Blows anything I think from last year out of the water. I'm still not getting it though because I want to wait for the next VR.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's lots of stuff coming out. John, how do you usually approach Black Friday? Like, I know you're wheeling and dealing all year round and getting all the crazy, stuff. Like, are you compelled by Black Friday, Cyber Monday sales? Like, what do you usually look for? Have you waited in lines? Do you have horror stories?
Horror stories? No, I actually like to watch people go crazy, and then I just kind of swoop in and grab one game I want. I don't usually do the whole... like going to the store thing that much. It depends on what the deal is, obviously. So I'm trying to think of some games I bought recently. Last Black Friday, I got the Uncharted game at GameStop. God of War. I picked it up for like $10. It's still going for $20 now, so it's a good deal. The Uncharted Lost Legacy I got for like $10. Really what I do is I try to find AAA titles that have been out for a year or two that I haven't picked up yet and pick them up for like $10.
So your Black Friday is just like the rest of your year. It's looking for not this year's hit at the $40, price tag. You're looking for 2 years ago hit with that $20 price
well, even
tag.
a year before. I mean, and sometimes I'll get, like last year we picked up Assassin's Creed, is it Origins?
The Egyptian one?
Or yeah, one of the two.
Yeah.
And we picked up for like $20. And then Odyssey was on sale for like 35 or 30 in some places. So, we'll pick up a AAA title if we want. I typically will pick them up if it's games that I know are not going to go back down to that price anytime soon. I'll generally grab those. My go-to is usually Walmart and Target for Black Friday. But I like to do the whole Amazon thing because it's super quick. I just go on, pick a couple games, buy it, I'm done. They're there a couple days later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do find that I'm a little more interested in picking up the previous year's titles or big titles, and then a couple years before that, anything that they're looking to kind of no longer have in stock typically is what that is. And I have such a bad back catalog. I mean, if you look at my wall, I mean, there's so many games on there. It doesn't bug me to pick up a title from a couple years ago and just have it sit there.
Yeah, of course not.
Especially if I'm picking up new for $10. I still have stuff on the wall here that's shrink wrapped because I just haven't opened it. In fact, I think I have some Black Friday stuff from last year that hasn't been opened. So, actually, Ukulele, I think, was one of those that I picked up last year. And I just beat that not too long ago. So that is my approach on Black Friday, sir. Oh, and GameStop. GameStop usually has buy two, get one free
Okay.
on Black Friday. And that's always a pretty good deal regardless. So if you have some old trade-ins, old controllers, stuff like that, always pretty cool to go in there for a buy two, get one free. In fact, that's what I did, was it last week or the week before when I got Concrete Genie?
Yeah.
I traded in some stuff and they had a buy two, get one free deal going on at that point.
Good.
So, yep, that's about it on Black Friday. I don't know, you got anything else, man?
Well, in less exciting news and less capitalism news, we have China cracks down on online gaming with curfew and time limits. This is
China.
This is by Fraser Brown of PC Gamer, and this was a meaty article talking about.
There's about 10 of these articles that came up today, by the way. Everybody was covering this thing.
Yeah, so I've heard about this a little bit earlier when I heard talk about the social credit system that they're planning on implementing. But basically, they're putting hard crack down on gaming in China for minors. It's going to be like a set limit and like identity registration to be able to.
I'm going to try and remember the article here, but I think it was 16 to 18 years of age. They were limited on how much money
under
they
18s.
Well, no, there's limits on 16 to 18 too. So 16 to 18, they're limited on how much they can spend. It's like $59 a month or something
$57
US.
per month for 16 to 18, and anybody under that caps out at $29 a month.
Yeah, and then for those that are younger than 16, I want to say the limits, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but the time limits were, they had about 3 hours a day that they were allowed to do.
It's
and then
90 minutes of online gaming during the week and 3 hours per day on weekends and public holidays.
Yeah, and then it's certain times they're not allowed to play. So it's like 10 a.m. or midnight to 8 a.m.
10 p.m. to 8 a.m.
Yeah, 10 p.m., sorry. So, yeah.
You keep trying to remember it. I'll just read.
Yeah, there you go. That's fine. But yeah, dude, I'm trying to show you that I read the article, Ryan.
I believe you.
So
Sort of.
Yeah, this is the one I did share today. Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see how this affects gaming in China, because gaming is a huge lucrative market, right? And they have esports there. They obviously have some sort of big thing with Blizzard, clearly.
Yeah, that's the other angle I wanted to tackle. This was the esports angle.
Yeah, I mean, how does this? We've talked about this in the past, like the whole social credit system and how that might work. Well, now it's a straight up like, hey, we're trying to combat gaming addiction by limiting how much you can play. But there's such a lucrative market in gaming. I guess they do have a lot of people living there. I mean, if you consider like compared to the US, it's what, 3 to 4 times the amount of people.
Well, and it's mostly mobile gaming. Mobile gaming is like the biggest aspect of like, steal your money and your time kind of thing. Besides like heavy PC games, like I've got here, this is an article from a while ago, and I was trying to find some figures, and this kind of just gave me a good enough look to kind of analyze this kind of through it. This was on Pan Daily by David Lee back in June of this year, and it's talking about Dota 2 in China, and it roughly accounts for about 55% of all matches played every day. So half the matches of this worldwide game are being played in China or by Chinese-speaking people that are kind of roughly lumped into the same, categories on this. But if you think like 40 to 50%, like if those people don't get access to Dota, and like what portion of those people are these young age, like that's a huge dropout for that company's like retention. Anybody that has like these grindy long, just play this game forever on your computer games, like those games are quickly going to not like being in an environment where they're not allowed to sell as much as they want to their customers, and where they're not allowed to be there as an entertainment source for their customers, which is what they really want. And I get that, in some aspects it's supposedly probably trying to help people and protect these kids. I get that, and that's not a bad thing. But some people are really going to be hurt by this, like especially like in the pro communities. Like Dota 2, China has like all kinds of great farm teams. Like they're the biggest region. Like so much of Dota in China and the way they approach Dota comes from like having such a vast player base. But like if you start cutting these people down that aren't pros, that don't necessarily have good excuses for being 16 and being, you know, a world ranked Dota player, like unless you can somehow have your parents get permission from the government to let you play more games, you're quickly going to see a fallout in how many people of below that age range are actually going to be able to break into those upper limits, because they're not going to be able to practice hard enough. They're not going to be able to do the stuff to keep up with the rest of the world and keep up with the people who this doesn't apply to.
Yeah, and I was reading in that article, it said something along the lines of like 3 hours on a weekend isn't even long enough to do like some raids.
Yeah,
games.
I would suppose so. Not in like World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
I don't know how long those take, but
Well, think about the 90-minute component of that. Like, hey, you're limited to 90 minutes on weekdays and then 3 hours on weekends.
yeah, that's super tough.
Yeah, 90 minutes is not. I mean, dude, there's days where I sit here and I might spend 2-3 hours on a game and I don't feel like I got anywhere.
Well, now there's obviously no way they can use this system to regulate everything. Like if you've got a Switch, as long as you're not playing like an online game like Fortnite or something, I'm assuming you're going to be able to switch all day. Like it's only going to be like, you know, always online, you know, MMO or match-based games, you know, like Fortnite or, you know,
I think
server
really,
games like Minecraft probably with friends.
I think what they're looking to do is not necessarily treat gaming addiction, but more gambling addictions.
I think it's the most addictive games that are going to be hit hardest by this, and it's just unfortunate that
Well, and a
some
lot
of
of
those
those
games are
games,
games
though-
that I appreciate.
Well, a lot of those games are like your Fortnites and League of Legends
Yeah.
and things that have like cosmetic purchases
Yeah.
and really it's kind of tied in on gambling in a sense. And I can see them doing this from more of a gambling perspective than an actual gaming perspective. Because I can sit on my couch and play 2-3 hours of a game, but I'm not actively spending more money. And the fact that it even calls out that kids of certain ages can't spend more than like $29 a month,
Yeah.
other ones can't spend more than 57, leads me really to believe more on this being gambling versus gaming.
Now, if they do something to change that, the way they approach that, I mean the gaming companies, like if Blizzard is going to say, okay, well, we're only going to be able to get this much money out of them now, I wonder if they're going to be able to use that to tune their rubric, because if you can only spend that much a month and you don't get anything good at all that month, you're probably going to be way less likely to be chomping at the bit to spend that money, you know, the first day of the next new month. And if you don't get anything again, that's going to be a huge turnoff. To be just like literally months away, like not even being able to just pay your way through the BS that they've built up. And if they start having like different distributions, which I know they already do in different markets, but there's no way they can like conscientiously sell to other countries like America, you know, hundreds of dollars of cosmetics that are crap that you don't want before you get one, and then let it be in China where you can only spend $30 a month. Well, we want all 30 of that, so we better reward them more frequently. Like if they start doing stuff like that, that'll be real shady. I mean, in some ways, this really, you know, heavy censoring Chinese rule law that's being brought down here like a hammer is really showing a disparity between like how much do we respect these companies to just steal from kids and steal from people that can't control themselves or know better. Like hard limits are a good thing, and that's actually kind of an interesting and good point about this law, is that it's not going to be, these people aren't going to be taken the way that we could be taken.
Yeah, makes sense, dude. I mean,
They have a very particular set of skills.
yeah, a very particular set of skills that only allows them to spend $57 a month. Does that article actually go into anybody over the age of 18, or is it just younger kids?
No, I believe that once you're over the age of 18, you are no longer a kid.
Yeah, you're able to do whatever you want.
Yep.
So, okay, that makes sense. Well, let's get into our inflation deflation for this week.
Yeah. So this week, we took our magic paintbrush and we threw up some weird ghosts and lit up some lights, and we dived right on into Concrete Genie.
Dude, wanted to play this game for quite a while now. We talked about it probably when I first heard of it. And
I remember talking about it at E3. It was one of the ones that I wrote a check mark next to.
Yeah, that was one that I was definitely excited to get a copy. And week after it came out, actually like 3 days after it came out, I traded up some controllers to pick that up. And I paid $30 for it new, which I have no shame in admitting that. So while you were looking something up, developer is Pixel Ops, it looks like, or is that Pixel Opus?
Pixel Opus.
And publisher is Sony Interactive, so I guess this is an exclusive. And Dominic Robillard? Dude, my eyesight's terrible.
Yeah, Robillard or something like that was the director.
Yep.
Sorry,
and it
Dominic.
was released 10/8/19, and the reception has been fairly good. You're looking at 7 out of 10 on here, but I've seen a lot in the 9 out of 10 and 10 out of 10 ranges
that's
as well.
An aggregate.
Yeah.
It's about, I think Metacritic was like a 74 or something.
Yeah, so it's not too bad. And we'll go into some quick pricing. We've got...
Okay, well,
yeah,
so
we'll just do the overall pricing, and we'll kind of
go
into the game.
It's still a new game. You could still go buy this game for $30.
$30 new.
$30 new. It's weird looking at a price charting for a game this new. Like the graphs are all wonky because they're just straight lines because it's literally only been a month.
Mm-hmm.
So
this is actually the newest game we've done a review on.
Yeah, apparently the complete inbox is saying $21.99 and loose is $18.99, and that's just based off of like a sale.
Yeah,
you know, people aren't really
eBay.
trading this, you know, getting around online too much yet, but that's because it's too new. It's too new.
Well, when I went to GameStop to initially pick this up, they had one copy new in stock, and there were no used copies at that particular store.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, well, you can get a used copy of this store like 12 miles away, and they only had one. And
Yeah.
it was like $3 difference. Like, by the time I use my gas to get down there,
Yeah.
I'm going to end up spending what I would have spent new.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful game.
It looks just like, this is what I was looking up. It looks just like the work by Leica Studios. They do the Paranorman and Coraline, Kubo and the Two Strings. It's got that stop motion, you know, crafted, animated kind of feel, and I think that it would have, you know, fit right in alongside of those kind of.
Yeah, now that you mentioned
products.
Kubo, it's right up there in terms of the overall animation, which I actually really liked.
And the aesthetic, like the choices of the character design are similar in ways. And, you know, I'll be quite frank with you, John. I think that as soon as we turned this game on, it looked absolutely gorgeous. And as soon as I took that controller in my hand, I was like, this controls a lot better than I thought it looked like it did when you were playing it, like the controls of moving your character around and stuff, but the painting aspect of this game and the creative element that's supposed to be in it is a little wonky to control, but the ability to like really change the look and feel of your environment in ways that, you know, you can not quite express yourself, but you can, you know, add flourishes and do in your own kind of way is really unique and nice.
Well, I want you to remember one thing on the controls here. This game also is VR compatible.
That's
so
what I feel like would be way better. I feel like this would be way better in VR.
And I have motion. So it's also motion control compatible as well without VR, from if I recall. So I do have motion controls. So if we ever want to revisit this one, could straight up use motion controls and see how that feels.
Yeah, I bet it feels way nicer. The 6-axis thing just never really felt great to me.
No, I mean, it never did. When I played Layer back in the day on PS3, it never really did kind of click for me. There's some games that it works well, but others, like Warhawk, was absolutely terrible at 6-axis. But so I'll go into kind of my viewpoint on the game on this. Beautiful game, art style wise. I like the music in it. The controls I felt were pretty fluid for what we were. I mean, I paid $30 for this game, and you said it was like a 5-hour game. So I think if you
8 hours for like a full completionist run,
which
so you're gonna
isn't bad.
Yeah, you're to stretch your money around this one.
Break that down to a movie ticket at 2 hours, you know, for a movie, and you're looking at about $30 at 6 hours of gameplay if you did it that way. So it's pretty equivalent to a movie price if you looked at it from that perspective in terms of entertainment value.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that so far to story, we really just did
We did the
introductory
intro.
piece.
Yeah, we
which
got
is,
a good feel for the tutorial and the setup and the world.
Yeah, and I would like to play it more. I mean, I was pretty engaged with what we were doing, despite being disengaged at the same time. I thought it was really cool. I liked the components that we were, going through the lighthouse and going ahead and being able to choose the different types of paint and everything and different types of drawings we wanted to put up.
Yeah, I've never played anything that has quite this approach to it. It is like a well-considered, easy-to-manage approach, and it seems like with a game of this length, it's not going to get overly cumbersome and tiresome and like, oh, this again. I've already been doing this for so long.
Well, we don't know
I
yet.
don't
It
think
could be that.
feels like it's going to wear in.
Given how short the game is at 5 to 8 hours, I don't feel like it'll get to that point.
Yeah, it should be a nice, comfy ride. Like, you can see how many other types of like painting and stuff you need to unlock, and you get kind of a feel. Like, I've got an idea of where this is going to go as a story, what it seems like, but it should be a good ride, it looks like.
And
it's something that I would play.
One thing that and this is kind of a detour from what we're discussing now, but one thing I've absolutely loved about this generation of games, both on the Switch and on the PS4, is the ability to pick up games at $30, just straight out indie games, physical copies, $30. It gets rid of that whole idea of like you have to pick up a game at $60 or $70, whatever it may be. Like, this is a really cool game from what we've played so far. It's $30 new. Like, come on. Like, it's half the price of some $60 games that have the same amount of content, story-wise.
Yeah. John, it sounds to me like you're saying that this game is deflated at launch?
At launch deflated? No, I think it's dude, 5 hours of gameplay at the minimum, $30. I think the launch price right on target. Now, what I will say,
of course, the launch price is on target, but I mean, is that what it's worth?
Oh yeah, for sure. Which means the complete in box, I think, is definitely deflated at $21.99. I think if you pop this into your
if you could
collection
get this
at $25,
$8 off right now, do it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Even $5 off, pick it up. Like this, it's a great game from what we did so far.
Now, I think that I'm going to say that this does look like a great game, but this looks like a great game that I would wait until it's like $15.
Well, I mean, it won't take that long to get there, but dude, I mean, at 22 right now, complete in box, if you want to be with the trend and the cool kids that are trying to uncover Banksy.
All those other people you see out there covering Concrete Genie this week.
Dude, there was a lot of coverage on this game, actually.
Well, I mean, that was like a month ago. I wasn't really looking at it then.
Oh, well, I was.
I know you was.
That's not right. Okay, so where are you at overall in price?
I think that I would pay $15 for this, and I would be happy to do so.
So you think at the current price point, given that it's a month old, it is inflated at $21.99?
Just like everything else a month old, John. It's overrated.
Overrated. All right, well, we have mixed reviews on this one. It might be around that 7 out of 10. But I'm going to go ahead. Like I said, man, it's deflated at $21.99. You're in it at inflated at $21.99.
Yeah.
Which means it's the perfect price point.
Right? I think that this... Honestly, I keep thinking about this.
Actually, hold on.
And I think I would like to see this as a movie more than a game almost from the time that we played it.
Maybe it will be. You're at 15. I'm at 25. Combine, that's 40. Divide by 2, $20. We're about close to that complete in box price, man, of $21.99.
Numerology, it's always almost right.
Yeah, and on a podcast, it's probably not easy to follow along. Okay, so we didn't pick a game for next week.
Let's...
It's Thanksgiving, right?
Not next week.
No, I know it's not. It's November. It's Thanksgiving month. Not that I want to do Thanksgiving month. I don't have any turkey games. What do you think about... You see in those PS3 games, the Yaira Ninja Gaiden? It's kind of like an animated version of Ninja Gaiden.
Okay.
We should play that.
All right, we will be playing that.
That is what we're playing. I think, dude, I think it's like $6 or $7 for the game.
All right, well, we'll check that out, and we will let you know next week what we think.
And, of course, as we said earlier in the episode, find us on Spotify, iTunes, all podcast applications, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. We are at The Game Deflators, outside of Twitter, which is at Game Deflators. I cannot believe I got that right for once.
You did.
All right. Well, my name is John,
I'm Ryan.
and we are
the Game Deflators.